speaker is Luyao Zhang, who is Assistant Professor of Economics and Senior Research Scientist at the Data Science Research Center at Duke Kunshan University. She has an abiding passion for interdisciplinary collaborations, especially related to computational economics, AI, crypto economics, and interdisciplinary big data. Her publications have appeared in several top journals, including American Economic Review, Papers and Proceedings, the Review of Economics and Statistics, The World Economy, Nature Scientific Data, ACM CCS, and Remote Sensing. She has taught courses beyond for students with diverse backgrounds in the US, Europe, and China, proposing an AI and business strategy initiative, and has won several teaching prizes for innovative and research-oriented and project-based education. She's also associate editor for IEEE Transactions on Computational Social System and the ambassador in Shanghai for the startup Genome. She is the founding president for SciCon CIC NPO, registered in the UK, aiming to cultivate integrated talent in research, innovation, and leadership. And today she's going to be speaking to us about cryptocurrency valuation, an explainable AI approach. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, David, for the introduction. So today I'm going to present this very exciting work about cryptocurrency valuation and explainable AI approach. So it was mentioning this is a collaboration kind of like between industry and academia. So the other co-author, Yuling, so his major appointment is like working on several industry projects of blockchain at Bachelor's Group, like which is kind of like the major investors for Definity in internet computer, and also a bunch of other projects, like he was chief economist. So my background major appointment is at academia, like doing tenure track professorship. So it's kind of like a very interesting project to look. Also, after today, if you are interested in either academic research, we will show you, like, we actually have a lot of open source data and code, so you can easily produce like works based on our work. Also, you can, like, maybe if you want to do some technology transfer of the products, we already like distribute the automated trading algorithm as Python open source packages. So we provide all the basic versions, so you can kind of like play with it to produce real software, and all the licenses are open, so it's free. So feel free to have fun with it. This is not convention in finance research, but because my background is like interdisciplinary research, and I also produce a lot of open educational resources. So this would be something special feast for you. So here is the overview of our study. I only want to see we want to kind of like solving two issues in terms of cryptocurrency valuation. So one thing is about practicality, like how can we invest wisely in crypto assets? That's an exciting question. That's not even completely answered in traditional finance assets. The second thing is how to proxy the fundamentals of crypto assets in an explainable way. Yes, right now there are a lot of machine learning algorithms, but it all sounds like a black box, right? So you kind of like import a Python package, like fancy names like deep reinforcement learning and neural network, and you get some prediction, and you get some pretty high prediction level when you have a lot of data. But how by human intuition it makes sense? None of those two questions I think are very well answered. At least we don't have a consensus on in the crypto world, and I do not think we provide one that is a final. I think we just want to initiate this discussion on those two very interesting issues. So in this work, we try to answer how to make cryptocurrency valuation more explainable in three ways. So the first way is we want to explain the fundamentals of crypto assets based on two things. One thing is kind of like history, so monetary theory. Another thing is specifically related to blockchain. So it's a UTXO based accounting. We think, okay, if we want to know the fundamentals of crypto assets are still an assets. So we should not completely throw away our traditional wisdom. Another thing is it's on blockchain. Like right now, a lot of research about crypto assets indeed borrow models from conventional finance, but crypto assets has something special. If we do not utilize the special thing because it's on blockchain, then it's very unfortunately we are not generating innovative results enough. The second thing is the buy low and sell high intuition. So if our index is valid, it must be able to explain like we should buy low and sell high, right? So if this explainability cannot be tested, then there is no ground that the index makes sense. Lastly is, okay, we kind of like intuitively know it makes sense, but what is the practicality of it? If you read many finance paper, you will see like you don't know how to replicate the results, like you don't know how to import new data and to test the return of investment. So for that one, we make the automated trading algorithm completely transparent. We show the comparison based on like very simple cases, and all of you can test it with all the other algorithms compared with other algorithms in the traditional finance literature. So now let's answer the first question. How can we explain the fundamentals of crypto assets? The first thing, by the way, this study, we are not going to Ethereum. We actually have a lot of study on Ethereum already accepted by other conferences or releasing working paper soon. But this study is actually not about Ethereum. It's more focused on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is more fundamental as an asset. So we want to start it with Bitcoin. So Ethereum is more about mechanism design and also smart contract functionings. So in terms of financial assets, we think it's kind of like making more sense to start with a clean Bitcoin like assets. So Bitcoin is in general more like just a money. So in terms of this decentralized payment, it is a money. Traditionally, monetary theory says money has three functions. So when we do the evaluation of the fundamentals, we need to think about why we need money, because money is only useful when it do good for us. So there are three utilities of currencies in monetary theory. The first one is as a medium of exchange. So we need to exchange goods, and we have limited memory, so we need money. The second one is store value. Like if we had produced a lot of apple today, we cannot eat all of them. We need to store it for future when we have COVID, when we are in quarantine. So that is a store value. And lastly, it's a unit of count. So it's kind of like as the thing to count the price of other products. So in this case, we can actually, if we can find the proxies of Bitcoin on all those three functionings, we will be able to define the token utility of Bitcoin. And I write down the formula here. So for medium of exchange, we have the data. So you can find it on open source, on CoinMatrix, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. That is a token volatility. So it's kind of like the inverse of the transaction volume. And another thing is for the unit of account, we can think of it as a better matrix when the price volatility is smaller. So we also have it. You can find the volatility anywhere. In the middle for the store value, it's inverse to the dilution rate, which is the inflation rate, but we need something else. So in this paper, I think that's a major contribution here, because like for the first and the third, the data is easy to find. And for the middle one, like how can we find something to evaluate that the Bitcoin's store value? We propose something very special, and the data is actually very difficult to produce. So to produce that data, we published a paper on Nature Scientific Data. So the thing is called the staking ratio. So I will be focusing on talking about this one. So what is staking ratio? So first, you can go over like the figures. So this is the transaction volume you can get from on-chain and off-chain exchange. So for our paper, we included both, so on-chain and off-chain. And you can also produce the volatility. Those are easy. And here is the dilution rate. So Bitcoin would have the half every 4 years. So this is something very special called the staking ratio. So that is the Bitcoin. This Bitcoin haven't been used for how many years? So it's kind of like you give the Bitcoin to me yesterday. If I haven't spent it until now, then the Bitcoin has been stacked for 24 hours. So stacking ratio is like how much of the percentage, what is the percentage of the Bitcoin that has been stacked for more than 1 year, more than 2 years, more than 3 years, or 4 years. So can we know that? If it's money in the real world, maybe it's difficult to know. If it's kind of like a counting structure, it may be difficult to know. But thanks to Bitcoin's UTXO structure, it's possible to have. And to produce that data, not only for Bitcoin, we produced the methods for all the UTXO-based blockchain, the age distributions of Bitcoin. So age is the thing I just mentioned. So every Bitcoin gets to be a bond new UTXO when it's spent. So the previous one died. So it's really interesting. It's like a human. So whenever you spend like 10 units of Bitcoin, the 10 units UTXO died for the previous generation. But a new 10 unit Bitcoin gets bond. And if this Bitcoin haven't been spent, let's say for 10 days, then the age is 10. And if it was spent again when the age is like 1 year, then the Bitcoin has a lifespan of 1 year. So that is the thing that's very interesting. So for the Nature paper, we kind of like designed methods. Later, if you are interested, you can read our paper. Basically, it's not easy. Well, why? So if you do not have a smart methods, every time you need to calculate the age distribution, Bitcoin is quite safe. In order to get that, you need to query all the historical data. So let's say if I want to get the age distribution of Bitcoin today, I need to query all the Bitcoin transaction data since Bitcoin exists. That's a large amount of data, right? So every day I calculate this index, it's going to be very costly. So in that paper, we used an interdisciplinary research method, which is cohort analysis in social science. And we successfully calculated the age distribution for the Bitcoin that is alive, and also the like lifespan distribution for all the Bitcoin that's dead. So we kind of have some smart methods to reduce the computational cost to calculate the thing. And we released that as a Nature Golden Access. So all the code and the data are free and online. So if you are interested, you can play with our data and having fun. It's completely free, like no matter for commercial or for education. The only thing you need to do to cite us, and you don't need to pay any money to monetize or whatever our data. So here is the UTXO structure I mentioned. Like this is Alice crypto address, right? So let's see, Alex. It has different ways to get Bitcoin. It could be block rewards because Alice had built a record the transaction for the previous like block. She will get the block reward, and there will be a timestamp on 2012 11. It gets 50 Bitcoin. And it could be an output of another transaction, like other people paid Alice. So whenever Alice make a payment, let's say now Alice make a payment to Bob, which is the 100 Bitcoin from the 3 different UTXO. So it's recorded in UTXO. So it's not like recorded in Alice wallet. Now Alice has 100 Bitcoin. It's not recorded like that. It's recorded in UTXO with sources. But now if you combine all of them and send as Alice send it to Bob, then the 50 Bitcoin UTXO died. also the 30 Bitcoin UTXO died, also the 40 Bitcoin UTXO died. So each one is like a person. So their age cleans to 0. And now 2 UTXO gets reborn because let's see, Alice send it into UTXO to Bob's crypto account, right? So this would be Bob's crypto address. So now Bob has 100 UTXO. So now 100 Bitcoin UTXO gets born. And Alice crypto address, let's see, right now Alice only have 20 Bitcoin. So that is a new 20 UTXO gets born. So the 50, 30, 40 all died. And the 100 gets born in Bob's address, and another 20 gets born in Alice's address. So this is really special about the UTXO accounting-based structure. So we in the data we produce. So for the Nature paper, it's more about producing data for other people to use our data. So we mainly did analysis on Bitcoin. So you please feel free to use our codes to do analysis on the other data we already released as open source. So those are the Bitcoin Cash, the auto coins, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Dash, and Zcoin. So for Dogecoin, maybe a lot of you heard from it because of Elon Musk. So they have different start date, and they also have different block time. So block time is like how much it takes for a block to be built. And once we had produced all the proxies, we get our own PU ratio. So so this PU ratio is when the PU ratio price utility is something like market to fundamental ratio is very low. It means the price right now, the market right now like underestimates the fundamental. So you should buy when it's underestimated, right? So and sell when the PU ratio is high, when it's overestimated. So now we had produced our PU ratio, and we successfully accomplished our first goal. We used the monetary theory, and we had accounted for this UTXO Bitcoin structure. We have compared our ratio with other ratio that's used in both academia and industry. So in the industry, people also use this PN ratio, which is considers network effect and how many nodes are on the Bitcoin, and NAT ratio and PE ratio. So PE ratio actually intuitively already not making any sense, because in traditional finance, the earning is the earning from the token holders, the shareholders. So right now they use the earning as the earnings from the miners. That does not make any sense, because miner owns the reward. It's not the miner owns the Bitcoin as a token. So this already intuitively not making sense. And if you test it, it also will not predict very well. So we in the paper we applied the traditional finance approach to run a predictive regression. So using the same methods of the paper published on Review of Financial Study, we find it seems like in general only our PU ratio thing it can predict like very much high, have very much high predictive power. Others don't have high predictive power. Worth mentioning, even our ratio is the predicting power. You can see the R square is only 7% for 1 week return on investment. So 1 week in the future. So let's say now I want to predict what is my return on investment if I buy the Bitcoin after a week. It's not going to have much high predict power, but the predict power increases dramatically for long-term returns. So that is the limitation of our PU ratio. So but it's the same for all other index. All other index will not predict very well, even when it goes to long-term, or at least not as good as ours. So when you are using our index to check the results, I hope you could keep it in mind that this is not for high frequency trading index, and we haven't found one that works yet. Maybe our earlier presenter, we need to consider like the MEV issues. Okay, so now let's go to the second thing. The second thing is, can our index really inform the audience of a buy low and sell high? So for this one, we become a little bit creative. So we are now using unsupervised and supervised machine learning in a different way it would be used. So first is for unsupervised machine learning. In general, what it's used for? It's used for digital marketing. So that's a course I teach at NYU Shanghai for the business school students. So it will be like if we have the data of customers, we do clustering to find customers who in general generates very high like commission rate for your product and pays a lot for your product. So we find what are the common characteristics they have. So for example, they might be the people who are kind of like middle class and who are women, something like that. But here we are not using unsupervised learning for that. We are using it in a very interesting way. We want to see if we use the unsupervised learning clustering, we can find a cluster that the PU ratio is low when you buy it at the buying day and is high at the selling day. Because if we can, if PU ratio makes sense, we should be able to find a cluster that is so every dot is a transaction that has two x and y axis. X is a PU ratio when you buy it. Y is a PU ratio when you sell it. So for that cluster, its PU ratio is in generally low when you buy. So you buy when the assets underestimated and sell when it's overestimated. And then the return of investment should be in generally high than other data that's not in this cluster. It's very interestingly, actually, we did not expect it to work because we think, okay, maybe, yeah, we consider monetary theory, UTXO, but maybe we are not sure about whether it works. I just come up with this idea, and it's just magical. You can check and whether our data is replicable, because first, the data is recorded on blockchain. It cannot be revised, right? And all our code are open source, are in Python. Feel free to check it 100 times, and it just works. So it works like for the green dots. You can see the PU ratio is in generally low at the buy days. It's all like below this red dash line, the vertical line, and it's high than all others at the selling day. And for the so on the right hand side, so this one is the mean of the return of investment. So the green cluster is indeed the one that has very high the return of investment. So it's very interesting, but we tested all other index and we don't find any structure like this for all other index. So that is how we like innovatively use the unsupervised machine learning, and then for the supervised machine learning, we think okay, yeah, we use the decision tree model, because decision tree is the one that is the most explainable. So it's not it will tells you when I buy, it's more likely to have a bull market. It's like after let's say 180 days, the return is going to be super high. So if PU ratio makes sense, then the cutoff decision would be when PU ratio is very small. When the asset is underestimated, you buy it, it's more likely to have a bull market after, let's say, 90 days. We test all the different ranges of days, and it's just, again, magically works. And we also change different evaluation criteria, like if you know data science, like entropy, Gini index, it all works. And again, we also checked it's on other index, and none of the other index has this feature, like when you buy when the index is low, which intuitively is when the assets are underestimated, is more likely to have a bull market. And lastly, we want to put it into real practice. We said, okay, we don't want to make things too complicated. Let's just compare if we use PU ratio to buy and sell. Our strategy will be very simple. We cannot like tie our hands. So we will pick the PU ratio to buy if it is a PU ratio less than 0.1, 10% of the quantiles or percentages of all the history PU ratio. And we will sell when it's larger than 90%. So we are actually tying our hands because we are only using historical data. We are not using future data. So this is something you can really execute in reality. If I'm using future data, then it's only for research, right? But it's like, oh, at this point, let me compare the PU ratio with the historical PU ratio. If it's below 10%, let's buy. If it's above 90%, let's sell. So it's practical. And then we can produce this figure. You can also go to our website and finding the Python notebook and testing it on your own data as well. We compared it with two other very conventional strategy. One is a moving average crossover rule, like using long window as the fundamental and a short window as the short-term trend. And it has what our previous professor has said, like mean reversion or other assumptions you can all test it on. And the last one is a conventional buy and sell. So you are not trying to time in the market. And we can produce the cash flow. So the red is cash, the green is holding, and the blue is total. So here is a result on one of the representative results, but all the results are just robust, no matter we change different kinds of criteria. So what are the criteria you can change? You can change like each time, well, how much you can buy, how much you can sell, either a limit or not, and how much is the budget you have, so on and so forth. But in general, like if you use our PU ratio, you get pretty high return of investment. Yeah, so it's just a really, I'm not a person fond of money. Otherwise, I would not release everything as open source. Maybe I want to make money on my own. I just hate making money. I like to do research. Yeah, so but feel free to make money out of this. But be careful. This is not investment advice because I'm doing research, right? So several of my students still told me they use this algorithm because they were research assistant for me and to secretly buy Bitcoin and gain a lot of assets even during COVID-19. I'm not sure it's true or not. And then we also produce figures for the time series gross ROI and annualized Sharpen ratio. So feel free to play with it. So in general, for our code, you just change. Let me show you. So first, I'll have our open source data, and the code is on GitHub. So this means all the code, like from the very beginning, getting the data in all the algorithms for research and for the automated trading. And finally, we also have these packages on PiPI. So we have the testing files for our PU ratio algorithm, moving average crossover algorithm, and buy and hold algorithm. So it's something like this. So in Python, if you type in pipe install, so just copy paste that thing, it gets installed. And then you import, you can import PU ratio algorithm and the other two algorithms, and then you can set the index. And then you can produce all the figures I had produced. So if you go to my raw code, you can even import new data and set a lot of other things. So later on, we might also making a dashboard online, so you can play with it. But I think this is even better because for a dashboard, you don't know what's behind. For this one, you can play with all the code. Okay, finally, let me summarize with takeaways. So number one is our methods can be easily applied to any UTXO-based blockchain, and we already prepared the data of a store value for you for the Bitcoin Cash, Dash.coin, Litecoin, and Zcash. We did not produce research result on our own because we quickly moved to Ethereum research, and we were very excited about this one, but kind of lost interest on this one. But we'll come to do research on that. And the second one is how about when it goes to proof of stake? Actually, for proof of stake, stacking ratio. So stacking ratio is something like for Ethereum, you need to stack 64 Ether in order to become the validator. So actually, stacking ratio or something similar could be something you can try to figure it out to be the store value as well. We believe that it can work. We currently are not working on this because we moved to mechanism design research, but feel free to do research on that as well. We think it's also very promising. And another thing is for the macro factors, you can consider it can affect Bitcoin price, which we did not consider. So it includes the on-chain events like hard fork, Ethereum improvement proposal, or off-chain thing like government policy or COVID-19. Also like macro factors like behavioral heuristic and bounded rationality, which includes both the traders and mechanism designers micro factors. So all of those are the open questions. And I think it would be very excited if all of you do research on this. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.